I'm Srini, the creator of Maximize Your Output with Mem. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Mem's new chat assistant to effortlessly structure blog posts that interlink all of your notes, including quotes from books and any other notes that you have inside of your knowledge base. This will completely streamline the way you outline a blog post or any other piece of writing you want to do and make your writing process much more efficient. Now, let's get to the tutorial.
What we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through how you can use Memchat to outline a blog post, a newsletter, or any other piece of content that you might want to be published using the notes inside of your knowledge base. So the first thing that we have to do that is we have to write an outline for the blog post. And the most important aspect of this is your prompt. And the more specific you are with your prompt, the better your output is going to be. And if you get output that you don't like, or you have to go through a couple of iterations to get to the output that you want, the best thing that you can do at that point is to ask Memchat, how should I have phrased this prompt to begin with so that I would have gotten this output originally? Because that way you'll start to understand how to communicate with Memchat. The other thing that's really important here, you notice that I specified the title of the note. In this case, we're having it do an outline for a specific blog article that we've already created a mem for. And so if you specify the title of the note, the Memchat will actually know what you're referring to. And you see here that I also said break it up with headers and include bullets under each header for what topics to cover. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this prompt here and I'm just going to go copy it. And then I'm going to go over to Memchat and we will then paste this prompt into Memchat and have it write the outline. You can see here that I was trying to have it do the outline earlier, but I ran into some issues on my own end. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have it redo this outline. And now you'll see here in just a few seconds, we're going to get an outline. And you can see here that it's actually following our instructions exactly as we asked it to. It's using headers. It's basically giving us bullets under each header. Now, one thing that is really important here, when you use copy or Memit, it usually doesn't retain the formatting. So you have to go back and redo the formatting, which is annoying. That's a minor bug. So what I will usually do is I will just copy and paste this. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go ahead and put this into my outline. And you can see here that this is a general sort of outline that Memchat came up with. Now, I have a lot of notes on The Art of Impossible because I've interviewed Stephen Kotler on the Unmistakable Creative podcast, and I've read all of his books. What we want to do next is create what's called an archipelago of ideas. And an archipelago of ideas is nothing more than a collection of all the various notes that you have that you might want to use for this article. And it helps you when you're writing something because you basically get to gather all of your resources for a project or something in one place before you even start working on it. And so it speeds up your process quite a bit. And it's a concept from Tiago Forte's book, Building a Second Brain. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to search for relevant notes and add them to the outline. So what you would do there is you would just go here. And in this case, because of the fact that Stephen's work is about flow, what I would do here is I would just search for anything related to flow. And you can see here, it comes up with a bunch of different notes related to flow. Now, one way to actually speed this up is to take all of the various notes that are related or could be related to this article and to turn them into a collection. So I've already done that so that we can speed up the process of getting through the demonstration here. But if you wanted to do that, and this is completely optional, you could then select the various notes and say, okay, I'm going to want to create a collection of all these various notes on this particular topic. And then what you would do is you'd go here and either add them to a collection or create a new one. And so for the purposes of this demo, I actually already created a collection. And then you could also look at your outline and add notes from similar mems. So we go back to our outline here and open it and close the mem that we're just looking at. You can see here that there are a couple of different similar mems. You can see here it already references a podcast transcript, which I've included. It actually includes some stuff on the future of creativity. So any notes where Stephen Kotler might be mentioned or the idea of flow might be mentioned are here inside of similar mems. But you want to get more granular with this and you want to make sure that you get all the various notes. And I probably have dozens of notes on flow. So instead of doing that, what I want to do is I want to go back to our mem right here that has our outline. And since I've already created a collection from all of the various topics, there's one final option here. And you can see here that I have all these different notes already. I copied a bunch of different quotes, both from my conversation with Stephen Kotler. I have a bunch of my own notes as well, and a couple of different quotes from his book, The Art of Impossible. But one other option is that I could basically go back to Memchat and say, identify relevant quotes from this note, Stephen Kotler, Art of Impossible transcript, for my blog post titled The Art of Impossible. So let's go ahead and write the prompt here so that way we can just cut and paste it. And I'm going to tell it, identify relevant quotes from Stephen Kotler, Art of Impossible, for my blog post. And just so we can be more specific, I'll say, give me 10, 10 quotes by Stephen Kotler from this note that I might be able to include. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go back to chat now. And you can see here again, one of the things that's really important is titles. So my title for my transcript is Stephen Kotler, Art of Impossible in parentheses, but my title for my article is The Art of Impossible, Unleashing Your Creative Potential. So it knows what I'm specifically referring to, and I'm telling it I want quotes from this transcript that I'm going to use in this blog post. So let's see what it comes up with. You can see that it actually ran into an issue here, and I decided to leave this in the video because I think that it's actually useful to see what to do when you run into issues. So part of it is probably the problem with my prompt. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say transcript by Stephen Kotler. And let's see what it comes up with. And I said relevant quotes, so that also could be an issue because it doesn't necessarily know what I'm talking to. Okay, so you can see here that it actually is coming up with quotes. And basically, I made the prompt unnecessarily complicated. So let's go ahead and copy these. And we're going to put them back into our notes here for our outline. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to first convert these to bullets just so that they're easier to work with. And now we have all these different notes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take all of these notes that we've gathered, and I put these together in advance because otherwise you've had to see me search through all of them, which ends up being a time-consuming process. But you got an idea now of the basic concept. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all of these notes back into the outline that Memchat originally created for us. The difference is now we're actually incorporating our own notes into this. So now that we have updated our outline with our own notes, what we can do is we can tell Memchat to revise the outline and place the titles of the various notes that we've included, as well as quotes under each of the headers or under the appropriate header. And so again, you have to be very specific. And I also told it to indent the quotes so I know that they're separate from the bullets. So let's see what it comes up with. And we should actually have a really nice outline that incorporates all the quotes as well as the titles of the notes that I added to this outline. You can see here that it actually goofed on this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to actually have it redo the outline again. Say, okay, put back the original bullets, but also include the quotes and revise. And like I told you at the beginning of the video, what's really important here is that you actually want to iterate. So you can see here, it's not giving us an ideal outline. So here's what we're going to do. Because of the fact that it's not interpreting my prompt properly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say revise the original outline and incorporate these titles and these notes. So let's go back to the collection of notes, and I'm just going to say revise the original outline and place all the titles of these notes as well as various quotes under the appropriate headers. I'm just going to copy all of this, and let's just say that we stop here with these. So one thing you want to be mindful of is the character limit. We're just going to go ahead and copy this and then have it redo a new version of the outline. What actually works better, I think, is when you just copy the notes that you want to use. Okay, so you can see here that it's actually using all of this, but what we want to do is we want to actually have it use the original outline that it came up with. So let's go back to the original outline and say, okay, now combine this original version of the outline with what you just came up with. So we're going to tell it, combine this with the original outline below, and we're just going to copy that. So you can see here that it didn't come through perfectly on our first few attempts, and I've done this a handful of times already. And you can see here, now it's actually doing what we asked it to do. It's actually giving us a topic, it's incorporating the quotes, and it's incorporating the titles of my notes. And so this is actually the thing where prompt crafting comes into play. You can see here in some cases, it's actually making this a little bit extensive. So we can tell it, you know what, strip this down and make the outline 4 to 5 headers, but incorporate all of these topics. So we're going to go ahead and tell it to do that. And say revise with 5 headers. And it's possible it might just give me the headers because all I said was revise with 5 headers. So again, you have to experiment with this. And you can see here that now it's going back to what we did. Okay, so basically you can see it's sending me in a circle here, partially because of the fact that I am not being as clear as I could be. But it did a pretty good job actually incorporating the titles of the notes that I have. So now what I could say is incorporate the quotes from Stephen Kotler below. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have it copy some of these quotes. Or actually, we're going to remove this and we're just going to copy some of the quotes from earlier in our chat and say, okay, you know what? Just take these quotes and incorporate them into this outline. And then what it'll do is it'll actually restructure the outline so that these quotes are incorporated into the outline. So you're going to have to experiment with this a little bit. It doesn't always work perfectly. In fact, it's funny because I got this to work beautifully before I did this video, but I think in a lot of ways, having it not work, it was better for the sake of this video because of the fact that you're seeing how much you have to go through a few iterations to get things right. And so basically experiment with this until it gives you a output that you're seeking. Now, here I made some mistakes. A couple of things that I probably did wrong were the phrasing of the prompts. I should have been much clearer with how I phrased the prompts, specifically when we got into the part where I wanted to incorporate the titles of my notes as well as my quotes. But now you can see here that we've taken the original outline and we've modified it so our notes are incorporated under each of the headers. So that way we're not really just starting from a blank page, but we have a comprehensive outline to be able to start writing this blog post. And if you've taken smart notes, a lot of it is going to be just editing and rearranging your notes so that they flow together. And since Smart Write and Edit is pretty amazing, you can actually have it combine those for you and clean things up. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below.
If you're watching this video, chances are you've probably tried to build a second brain before, and you've probably realized it requires an overwhelming amount of organization. And that's because folders often become like digital closets where we hoard and store information that we can never find or put to use. With our ultimate guide to building a second brain in Mem, we'll show you how to build a second brain that organizes itself. You'll learn how to capture retrieve, and effortlessly put your knowledge to use. So if you're ready to increase your productivity, supercharge your creativity, and maximize the utility of your personal knowledge, click on the link in the description below to download our free guide.